Welcome to this explainer brought to you by Forge College. If you were hanging out with us for the previous lesson on the Introduction to Access Control Strategies, you know we covered the broad strokes. Well, today we're putting on our hard hats for a role-based access control deep dive. We're going to literally build out the organizational chart of your smart contract. You can think of this as drawing the ultimate blueprint for who gets to do what, and honestly, more importantly, who gets to decide who gets to do what. Because let's face it, even in Web3, office politics totally exist. They're just written in code now.
Here's the blueprint we're following today. We'll kick things off with the smart contract org chart, then move right into building the RBAC blueprint, look at the role lifecycle workflow, introduce time-limited temporals, and wrap it all up with leaving a secure audit trail. All right, Section 1, the smart contract org chart. Before we start slinging any code, we really need to know what our hierarchy actually looks like.
Now there's a huge difference in power dynamics here. Take a look at the flat role model on the left. It's just a simple mapping where absolutely everyone reports directly to one single master admin. Sure, it's super easy to build, but man, it is a massive single point of failure. Then on the right, you've got the hierarchical role model. This is your classic corporate org chart. The CEO manages the VP manages the intern. By setting up these cascading administrative layers, we drastically reduce our risk. I mean, you definitely don't want the CEO having to step in every single time the intern needs access to the printer, right?
Moving on to Section 2, building the RBAC blueprint. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of our code schematics and see how this hierarchy is actually constructed using Solidity.
The absolute crux of this whole thing is this definition right here, the role admin. In Solidity, this mapping is the boss. The roles themselves define who can take an action, like, who can mint a token, or who can pause a contract. But role admins? They define who can grant those roles to someone else. It explicitly encodes those administrative relationships, making your theoretical hierarchy a hard-coded reality. And to actually keep track of who holds what, we use the roles double mapping. This links a bytes32 role identifier, which you can just think of as the name tag for the role, to a specific user's address, and finally to a Boolean, so just a simple true or false. This double mapping is basically your core ledger. It's the ultimate mechanism that binds a specific role directly to a specific set of user accounts. But as they say, with great power comes a massive warning label. Compromise of a default admin compromises the whole RBAC graph. You absolutely have to protect the default admin role. This is the absolute peak of the pyramid. It's the CEO of your contract. Because it self-administers, meaning it essentially manages itself, whoever holds this key can completely rewrite the entire power structure. If this falls into the wrong hands, it is literally game over for your system.
Section 3, the role lifecycle workflow. Because roles aren't just static things. They are living processes that are constantly being granted and removed.
This is the 5-step lifecycle of a role. It's a very structured workflow designed to keep you safe. First up, we have a proposal. Maybe that's an off-chain vote to give someone access. Second is the actual grant, where the mapping gets updated on-chain. Third, we have the use or delegation phase, which is where the user actually gets to exercise their new power. Fourth is revocation. And this is a totally crucial step for when your intern accidentally pushes terrible code to main and you need to pull the plug immediately. Finally, step 5 is post-event reconciliation, where your off-chain tools check the logs to ensure no unauthorized grants somehow slip through the cracks.
Okay, Section 4, time-limited temp roles. It is time to add a ticking stopwatch to our blueprint.
So think about it. What if a role just shouldn't last forever? I mean, if you hire a plumber to fix a leak in your sink, you don't hand them the permanent deed to your house, right? Similarly, if we only want someone to have smart contract access for, say, a few hours to run one specific script, we have to invent a temporary delegation feature.
We can pull this off using a function like grant role for. Take a look at the expiry block integer. Since blockchains process time in blocks by explicitly coding an expiry block into the assignment, the contract automatically locks the door the precise moment that timeline expires. It just checks the current block against the expiry block. If it's past the deadline, boom, access denied. It is a brilliant way to balance utility and security, completely removing the need to rely on a human to remember to go in and hit the revoke button.
And that brings us to Section 5, leaving a secure audit trail. Let's talk about what happens when you need to conduct a safety inspection after the fact.
So here we're mapping the actor and their action directly to the required on-chain signal. When an admin grants a role, the contract absolutely must emit a role granted event. When a delegator issues a temporary grant, it has to store that expiry record. And when governance changes an admin, it emits an event on set role admin. Now you might be wondering, why are we so obsessed with these events? Well, because without these exact, explicit on-chain breadcrumbs, post-incident forensic analysis is just total guesswork. If your contract gets hacked and you don't have these logs, you will have literally no idea who opened the door or when they did it.
Let's quickly summarize this blueprint. As you continue exploring programs in the Forge College curriculum, I want you to always keep these 3 concrete design principles in mind. First, encode admin relationships explicitly. Make that hierarchy totally visible in the code. Second, favor explicit on-chain signals. Make sure you're emitting those events so you have a solid paper trail. And third, always weigh expressiveness against complexity. Time-limited temp roles are amazing for sure, but they add complexity. Every new gear you add to the machine is just another part that needs testing and monitoring. It's all about balance. To wrap things up, I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative question to chew on. Which RBAC features increase the need for governance controls, and which ones simply affect runtime checks? Think about how changing a role admin napping drastically alters your entire power structure, while a temporary expiry block just flips a switch at runtime. Keep that distinction in the back of your mind as you prepare for our next lesson in the Access Control and Authorization Flaws module. And to master the rest of this smart contract security track, be sure to visit forge.college to learn more about this subject and tons of other Web3 topics. Keep exploring, keep building secure hierarchies, and I will see you in the next explainer.